This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain, and cryptocurrency space.
Yeah, boy!
My guest today is Erica Stanford. Erica is the founder of the popular Cryptocurry Club in the UK, and Erica is the author of a new book, and the book is called Crypto Wars: Faked Deaths, Missing Billions, and Industry Disruption. Very interesting. Welcome to the show, Erica.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Andy. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it is a pleasure. Nice to meet you as well. Very excited to talk about this book today, and we'll find out a little bit more about the Cryptocurry Club while you're here as well. But just to begin with, why don't you introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, and give us a little bit of your career path and journey into a blockchain.
Sure. So I'm Erica. I'm based normally in London. We're still in lockdown, so I've been lockdowning just outside London in the countryside, which has been nice. So I as you say, I run the Cryptocurry Club. So that's the main crypto and blockchain community in the UK. We've now got 4,000 members, made up of all sorts of everything from startups and Google and everything in between in the crypto and blockchain space. So we used to have super fun in-person events with lots of curry and drinks, and hopefully we'll get back to in-person things soon. So how I got into crypto and sort of the blockchain space, I studied economics at uni. I'd always been interested in this type of thing, but I lived in Buenos Aires in 2008 during the economic crash, and saw all sorts of things happening there, people protesting in the streets because they'd lost all their money. And the main sort of way that people held money there, who it always noted it, was not to go to banks, but was always to literally, the minute they earned pesos, was to get those converted into euros and dollars, and would literally keep banknotes of foreign currency in safes in their houses. And that was the standard. The last thing you would do in Argentina was go to a bank or trust anyone else to hold money. And that had stuck with me. And I'd spent all my summers during uni traveling around South America, and one of them I was in Guatemala. And I think, as is fairly typical for probably a young 17 or 18-year-old little blonde thing alone in Guatemala, I got mugged 4 times in a row, and within a few weeks or so had all of my cards I'd taken with me liberated from me. So I spent the rest of the summer having to rely on Western Union, and that was the only way to get money there. I mean, there was literally, this was before Bitcoin, there was literally no other way of getting money there that we found out. So I used to, you walk to the Western Union place, and I called my dad in the UK, who kindly sent me money, and then that took 3 days to arrive and cost 14%. And that had stuck with me because I've got family in Mexico, and had by that point spent a lot of time, and a bit later spent a lot of time around South America and Asia as well, and seen how many people relied on the remittance industry. I mean, it's 2.5 billion people around the world who don't have access to banking. So when I heard about crypto, my first feeling was, well, this would have been useful then in Guatemala. And I just saw straight away the use cases probably less for London, where it's quite easy. You can just pay with your iPhone, or you can just tap a card. But I could see how many use cases there were, and I just started looking at it and playing around with it. And you can send money instantly and pretty much for free, and you can see when it arrives somewhere, and you don't have to walk to go to a shop to send it and pay 14% or so. So I just got hooked. I could just see how cool it was, how useful it was. Started playing around, and then wanted to meet more people in the space and find out whatever people were up to. And there wasn't really a community in London at the time. So I figured if you make events invite only, get really cool people together, and get people around together over food, it could be a good thing. And the Cryptocurry Club was born.
Very nice, Erica. And yeah, I mean, your kind of experience in Guatemala, was it? Did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of a new term that I'm hearing a lot at the moment, which is financial privilege, right? And I guess
Mm.
it's a bit of a loaded term, but the idea that some people, particularly critics of Bitcoin or crypto or blockchain, if you like, sometimes they don't necessarily understand what it is to have to rely on a service like Western Union and not have
Right.
easy access to
Yeah.
to Western style banking services. So yeah, interesting. And so the Crypto Curry Club is this? Have you still kind of kept it going over lockdown?
We've kept it going. So I mean, actually, the community's grown about 4x since
Wow.
lockdown. We've put on about 50 virtual events, sort of webinars and some of the virtual networking things, and launched an industry publication, so blockchain industry review. So that's been going out every month now. We've got the weekly newsletter, the Crypto Carrier. So I think from word of mouth and from the virtual events, just more and more people have heard about it, and we've got more people now joining from all around the world. So every day, pretty much, we have inquiries and people reaching out from literally all around the world, being a part of it. So the community's grown a lot. The virtual events, I mean, as you know, it's not the same. But yeah, no, it's been growing. We've still got a super active community, and I think everyone in the UK at least is itching at their feet to get back to being able to leave our houses and meet up in real life again.
And yes, indeed. And look, at least be able to go to the curry shop. What's your curry of choice?
Well, I'm vegan, so I'm probably the difficult one there. And I think after lockdown, I'm finally going to implement the vegan cryptocurry club. Curry of choice, good question. No, light and spicy. My favorite curry I've ever had, which isn't actually a curry, but a restaurant that's owned by a sort of a friend of a friend made me an Indian mango salad, and that was exquisitely good. So.
Sounds good to
Those sort of
me.
days.
All right. So, look, Erica, as I understand it, you've been working on a book for some time, I think. So, look,
Yeah.
as I said in the intro, the book is called Crypto Wars, Faked Deaths, Missing Billions, and Industry Disruption. So, yeah, well, what's the idea here? What's the background to this book, and when did you start working on it?
So the background to the book, I was sent towards the end of 2019 a podcast series about the Onecoin scam called the Missing Crypto Queen. It was put together by the UK's BBC, and it was by somebody that I knew at the time who knew that I was sort of working in the crypto space, and sent it to me, and they'd heard about the podcast and asked if I was okay, which was quite touching. So I listened to the podcast series and got absolutely hooked. I mean, the BBC did this really big investigative report on the giant OneCoin scam, which sort of pretended to be a cryptocurrency and
Yes,
was nothing but a Ponzi scheme.
and look, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just need to interrupt Erica to say that I listened to that podcast series myself,
Yeah,
and yeah, even though it is a couple of years old now, it is so well done, so well researched and produced, and just in that sort of style of podcast where they create the narrative and keep you on tenterhooks
yeah,
from episode to episode. But if any listeners haven't heard that and you want to go look for it, I think it's called The Missing Crypto Queen.
yeah.
By the BBC. Jamie Bartlett, I think, was the host, wasn't he? But
That's the one. Yeah,
keep
and
keep
it's
keep going,
phenomenally good.
Erica. Phenomenally
It's
good.
it's 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 phenomenally good. So I heard it and was absolutely hooked. And Jamie's based in London, so sent him a bit of a cheeky message. I think there was a sort of a connection through one. Sent him a cheeky message saying, "I run this thing called the Cryptocurry Club. Would you be willing to speak?" And he said he'd heard about it and he'd love to. So in December 2019, we had a sort of a private curry, just booked out a restaurant, had about 60 people there, and Jamie came and spoke with us and spent the afternoon with us. And because it was sort of private and it was just us and it wasn't being recorded, he could really sort of go in depth into some of the stories that they couldn't share as public on the podcast. So incredible. I mean, incredible guy, and they've done an incredible amount of work and investigation into the OneCoin scam. But I mean, it's such a hooking story. But what was interesting from that, because of the cryptocurrencies, we've got thousands of members, but a lot of those are people that have been in the crypto space since sort of time began, so since sort of 2009 onwards. And a load of people that came to that event with Jamie then came up to me afterwards and started telling me all these stories about how they'd heard about different sort of crypto scams and so forth, and had really tried actively to out them at the time, or to try and alert the authorities, or try and make people aware of them. And you know, a load of them had death threats and had really been threatened by these scams and by sort of, you know, by organized crime for doing that. And they told me all sorts of stories. And then they'd a lot of them had stopped sort of trying to out the scams, because they figured, you know, that they're young people with families, it wasn't really worth risking their lives for in some cases. But I got added from that event. I got added to a bunch of sort of Facebook groups and community groups run by the scams themselves, and sort of the fan clubs and the sort of the following sites for the scams. You know, people that had been watching the scams to keep an eye on what was happening managed to get me added. And so I was suddenly in these Facebook groups and these community chat groups for run by the scams, and supporting these, and sort of watching what was going on, and seeing how, I mean, cult like is probably the best word, that they are, how really loyal the people are, the investors are, and sort of how much brainwashing goes on there, and how people really do believe them, and you know exactly sort of what the scams were doing to basically try and persuade people. And then you see the whole MLM side of it, the multi-level marketing side of it, and how persuasive that is. So that was super interesting. And then in February, just before lockdown, by chance, the publisher reached out and asked if I wanted to do this book about all of the crypto scams. And I was like, oh yeah, you know, this is an interesting subject. So you know, luckily in a way it was lockdown, so I had the whole year at home, not really leaving the house other than for morning runs, to research and speak to a load of people.
Amazing. And well, yeah, you are right. It is, you know, if you talk about being able to essentially lurk in, you know, the
Yeah,
Facebook groups or Telegram groups, and you can, that's just the nature of, I guess, this industry and investing and being extremely online, especially during a pandemic, is, you know,
yeah,
you can go out and spend time in these communities. And what I've found as well is once people, you know, talk about this cult-like behavior, right, Erica, and you know that does tend to happen when people, well, I guess it is skin in the game, when they have their money invested and they've kind
yeah,
of bought the narrative.
yeah,
They can become, it's hard to even point out to someone that, hey, this might be some kind of
yeah,
exotic Ponzi scheme that you're invested in here,
yeah.
right?
And the worst thing is, because I mean the incentive structures are so good, you know, good in the sort
Yes.
of the perverse meaning of the word. You get paid very highly for bringing in your friends, your family. So you've got people who brought in their whole friendship groups, their families, you know, religious leaders brought in their entire congregations, community leaders brought in entire communities. And I mean, what is sort of interesting is some of them, of course, knew exactly what they were doing from day one, and didn't care and were just in it for the money. And other people had fallen for them scams themselves and really thought, well, this is a good way to make money. This is paying out, because of course initially they pay out. So they really thought that they were doing good for their families and good for their friends by offering them this opportunity. And then of course they felt, you know, maybe they're aware, but then what can they do? Because they've brought everyone they know into what they now see as a scam, and into what they've seen as losing money. And then how hard is that to say to everybody that, you know, sorry, I've caused you to lose your money? So you see all aspects of it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, look, talk us through some of the different, I suppose, scams and exotic escapades, stories of ill repute. What because you know this is crypto and there are many. What are some of the big topics or projects, if you like, that you've covered in the book?
I mean, we covered in the book sort of a bit of an overview of what was sort of the crypto Wild West, particularly in the sort of 2016 to 2018 era, when you'd attach the word coin onto every single word going, and projects shot up into the millions. So there's a focus on the ICO era. Not that all ICOs are scams, but I think the statistic is at 98% now were either scams or have lost their investors all of their money. So it's the same end. So it's a little bit about that era into the whole, sex coins and dating coins and prayer coins and sand coins and this coin and that coin, and just how extreme it all got. There's some of the focus on some of the different Ponzi schemes and how the whole multi-level marketing space got so big, where you had projects saying, well, send us your money, send us your Bitcoin, and we've got this mining equipment, so we'll mine Bitcoin for you, and then we'll get you back double or triple or however much more. Or send us your money, we've got this magical trading bot, so we'll trade Bitcoin for you, and you'll get 1% a day or really high returns guaranteed back. And the more money you send us, the higher the returns you'll get guaranteed every day. Or send us your money and we'll give you these coins, and these coins will multiply, and then they'll mine themselves, and then they'll get more coins, and then they'll be worth more. And the more money you send us, the more coins you'll get, so the more you'll get. So it's just all the different layers of sort of Ponzi schemes that came out of there. We look at the Quadriga exchange. So I don't know if people have heard about that it was a Canadian exchange where they accrued $250 million of people's crypto, and then the founder died or disappeared, but he was the only one who had access to the private keys holding that crypto. And there's still much speculation about whether he died. I've certainly never met anyone who actually believes that the guy died, and there's still sort of cases that are trying to get his body dug up to see if there's actually any proof that he died. So and yes, that was in the past, but we've seen that exactly the same thing happen just a few weeks ago. The Todex exchange, I think it's pronounced, or Tadex exchange in Turkey, founder of exchange, they amassed $2.2 billion this time, just promising, well, if you send us your crypto here, you'll get cheap Dogecoin, and accruing all of people's crypto in one centralized exchange, and then exit scammed with 2.2 billion. And I think the lesson is still the same. You can't just assume that just because you're sending someone else your crypto and they say they're going to store it for you doesn't mean it's necessarily safe.
Yeah, oh, that's a very, very accurate, Erica. And I think that is something that people should always keep in mind with these exchanges. And yeah, it's just a double-edged sword sometimes for some people. Personal custody of your coins can be problematic as well, but particularly with some of the smaller exchanges that perhaps aren't quite so reputable, that's a risk. What about the two big I suppose scams, if you like, from that period, back in 2016 through to 2018, that sort of first major altcoin boom, ICO run. The two that spring to mind really, Erica, are Onecoin that we've touched on a little bit, and the other one is, of course, Bitconnect.
Bitconnect,
Do you sort of follow what's happened with both of these projects now?
I do. And I mean, I still speak to Jamie about the Onecoin thing, sort of trying desperately to get out any information that he's willing to divulge. And I mean, I think that the Onecoin thing is fascinating because, of course, they've still got the legal happenings going on, but the question is still where is Ruja? And I guess from speaking to Jamie, you get so much more insight into what was really happening. And it does seem to be that they started it, Ruja and Sebastian, the co-founder, and almost it seems that it just got out of control, that they didn't think it was going to get this big, because they were the first ones that matched multi-level marketing, so the real generous incentive rewards with crypto, and with these crypto packages, where if you buy this package of crypto coins, they're going to double, triple, quadruple in number, and then they'll be worth more and more. So you're just buying crazy amounts of money, and nobody really questioned the possibility of how much it would go up in value. So I think it seems to have grown more out of control than anyone ever imagined, so that nobody really knows where Ruja is. I mean, it would be my estimation that she's probably dead. I think she's got too much money and resources to her, and knows too much, and there's no way she'd ever get out of prison, and she could say a lot of money if she could say a lot if she ever gets caught. So I would imagine she'd have been bumped off by now, but who knows? So that's a fascinating one. And there's still, if you look on LinkedIn today, there's still over 100 people promoting Onecoin. There's still people all around the world who don't know that it's a scam yet. It's still ongoing because it was so pervasive. And Bitconnect also, they launched this ICO, and it grew up in value. And I remember watching it at the time, and not everyone knew that it was a scam. And initially, I think it wasn't really sure what it was. It just went up in value. But then, of course, anyone that watched it, they did all these big events, and they had all these big parties, and free money, and everyone. I think anyone that bought it $10,000 or $20,000 worth of Bitconnect, they sent plane tickets and hotel tickets, and basically paid them to come to their parties in Thailand at the time. So it was this real big show, sort of this ostentatious show of come in and give us your money at the time. But then it crashed, and everyone knew that it was a scam, or everyone in the crypto space knew that it was a scam. And it crashed from, I think, $470 to basically nothing, just really, really quickly. And people were just totally wiped out. But then they launched a new ICO just straight after that, just as people had lost all of their money. They didn't just think, okay, we've made several $billion profit and ruined lots of people's lives. Okay, let's just leave it at that. The same team came out with another ICO, Bitconnect X, and we're selling it for $5. And then just the night before, they were going to sort of start launching that people could buy this ICO. They made it to $50 instead. So they just changed the price 10x overnight, and they still raised money, and people still put in their money, and were still exchanging money and sending money to them, and really thinking that this is the next best thing, and buying into that. And it just shows, I mean, partly I think how hopeful people are if they've already lost money, that they'll just go into the next thing, but just how big these scams get. And that trend now with scams sort of following scams is still going on now. I mean, you've still got these sort of scam companies that hear about the big scams, and almost like what Bitconnect did, it's like, well, this one's lost money, but if you send us your Bitconnect tokens, or if you send us more money, this one will go up next. And it's exactly the same thing now. You've got scam companies will know who's been scammed, and will go to them, hey Andy, I know that you've lost money in this scam. That's really sad, but if you send us your Bitcoin, or if you send us your money, we'll get your money back. And then they lose money twice, and it happens all of the time still.
Yeah, that's pretty sad state of affairs, really. And well, how would you describe, I suppose, the current landscape of crypto scams? Because it does feel like things have evolved somewhat, and now in some ways it's even easier, because it's so easy for anyone to launch their own token, whether it be on some kind of DeFi ecosystem, and create a landing page and a quick narrative, maybe. And then it's a rug pull, right? And we do see these.
Sure.
Yeah, sometimes they're out and out scams. Sometimes you never really know exactly what has happened. But yeah, what do you think is happening at the moment in terms of the scam scene?
I guess what I see as a trend is say, if you look back at the main sort of ICO era, the sort of 2016 to 2018 era, that there are a few. I mean, some of the ones that we've mentioned that were clearly organized scams from the start. I mean, where you've got, sometimes billions of dollars got taken, and organized crime from the start. But the majority of projects in the crypto space in that area, I would argue, weren't necessarily scams. It was really just people sort of being opportunistic and taking advantage of the hype and getting caught up in the excitement, and of exactly what you say. Anybody can sort of copy a bit of open source code and create Andy coin, and you choose how many Andy coins you want to release and how much you want to sell them for, and you get a freelancer on Fiverr to design you a nice andycoin.com website and a nice logo, and list them a little bit, and then you could raise money. You pay somebody to copy somebody else's white paper, and you've got your own Andy coin cryptocurrency, and great. And a lot of people did that, and didn't really know what they were getting into, probably didn't understand the space, didn't have any concept that there might be regulation which may or may not come in down the line and get back to them. So I think it was in that time, I think, yes, there were a lot of scams and a lot of really bad projects, but I think largely it was more opportunism and sort of just hopeless, useless projects than necessarily being bad intent. And whereas what I would see now is the scams have got smarter. And you see people moving from scam to scam. So there's sort of the ringleaders of them and the main people, the main sort of multi-level marketers or the main salespeople going from scam to scam to scam. And they're getting smarter and they're getting bigger, and the amounts of money are getting much higher and are affecting more people. So now, whereas I'd say a few years ago, yes, there were scams, and then there were a lot of bad projects, which yes, have lost people all of their money. So it's the same thing. Now the scams, it's some cases it's hard to know what is a scam or not. They're getting really clever. They're really knowing how to get people. They're copying people's social medias or hacking into celebrities and or influencers' social medias. They know how to work with influencers to get influencers to promote them. So it's not even the scams doing promotion, it's the influencers who are sort of scamming their followers, sometimes knowingly, sometimes not knowingly. The multi-level marketing game has got really good because they've hired the best people, and those people have worked now for some of the scams, so have accumulated all of this knowledge. So it's, as far as I can see, it's got worse because they're more sophisticated, they're more intelligent, they've got more knowledge, they've got more tech, they really know exactly what to do to go after people. And especially since, I mentioned the book and I've done some posts on LinkedIn about it, the amount of people that have emailed me, smart people, clever people, not necessarily in the crypto space, but smart people in good jobs who've emailed me to say, oh, I fell for this scam, I fell victim for this, or I've invested in this, is this scam or not? And then you look at it, it's like, well, yeah. And they're affecting so many people, and it's not people in the crypto space. They deliberately don't go after people in the crypto space. They're really affecting a lot of normal people. So as far as I can see, without wanting to be too negative, it's gotten worse because they've got so clever. And I think the longer things go on without having sort of clear regulation to show this is a good crypto company, this is not a good crypto company, because the scams can say what they want. I've seen all sorts of claims. We're regulated by so and so, we're listed on so and so global stock exchange, we've got partnerships with Visa, with MasterCard, with whatever. And of course those partnerships don't exist, but they can say what they want, and it looks good. And I think people's default is to believe that. So
yeah, look, it's a problem, isn't it? Because when, as you'll know, Erica, when you enter the crypto space, to begin with, I suppose, the learning curve or the information wave, it is so overwhelming to try and get a grasp on the entire ecosystem. It's not really possible when you first start out. But so, that's why it's really up to people who are in crypto already to try and educate people. And I hope if people are new to the space, that they will often ask people for their opinions and advice, and whether they get good opinions and advice back is probably up for discussion. But how, just as we start to finish off, Erica, what would you say to people in terms of what are kind of the common sense principles, if you like, in terms of how people should do their best to avoid getting scammed in crypto?
The thing is, it is really hard, and you say about people in the space warning. But I mean, for example, the Onecoin scam, which affected so many people, I'd never heard about until I was sent the link to the Missing Crypto Queen podcast. And the scams don't target those in the crypto space. But I mean, in terms of what to look out for, I mean, sort of common trends, I guess. If something offers any guaranteed return or promises any return whatsoever, then it can only be a scam. But if you just sort of practically step back and look at the biggest banks and the best trading firms and the best funds around the world, who have billions of dollars at their disposal and can literally hire the best people in the world. They can pay the best people in the world and use the best algorithms and use the best technologies and the best softwares to trade. They can't guarantee returns. They can't promise returns. They don't always make a profit. Sometimes they lose money. There's no way they can come anywhere near close to those guaranteed returns. It simply isn't possible to do that. So if there's any guarantees or promises about returns, or you'll get 1% or whatever a day, or we'll double your money in 24 hours, run like the plague. But then there's a few other things that are much more subtle. If a celebrity or an influencer tweets something or puts anything on social media, or says, buy into this project or invest in this project, or we're feeling generous, we're going to send you money if you just send us some Bitcoin or something, don't do it. In the sense that, yes, some celebrities might have really researched projects and might be saying things with full research and are aware of what they're saying, but also some of them just get paid and don't check what they're looking into and are just doing it for the money, and some get hacked, so it's not even them saying anything, it's their social media accounts being imitated or being hacked, and sort of scams posting things on their behalf. And then also you've got where some websites or email addresses, for example, are used that look so good, you can't see the difference almost between the website that they're trying to imitate and the scam website, and it might be only one digit in the domain. I don't know, A1 Airbnb instead of Airbnb, just for example. But whether they'll change a one for now, or make changes so tiny that it's really, really hard for anybody to see, is this a real website or is this a scam website? So there's, I think, sort of standard bits of advice is, if you ever want to look at a website or a project or so forth, go through a trusted source and use a referral link from a trusted source, because the ability now to impersonate people's social media, or to impersonate websites and email addresses and so forth, is so good that you just can't trust anybody saying anything, because you don't actually know if it's them, or if or who's being paid to say what. There have been celebrities have been fined or even arrested for promoting crypto scams.
Yeah, that's right, Erica. And Twitter is a good example. Twitter, I guess have they got the problem under control? I'm not sure. I don't see quite as many of those kind of the reply scammers and the imitators of big accounts that do the send me 1 ETH and we'll send you back 10. Don't see quite as much of them. So perhaps Twitter are cracking down a little bit.
I think
but
it's now TikTok is the bigger
yes
problem, because anybody can get followers and say whatever you want. And
that's right. That's right. It is still the Wild West for all intents and purposes.
And
All right.
when you see how many followers people have,
yes,
it's big numbers.
Let's finish this off, Erica. Tell us again the title of the book and when it will be released, and how people can get it, and where they should go to find out more about you, the Cryptocurry Club, all that good stuff.
So thank you so much for having me on. So the Cryptocurry Club, it's www.cryptocurryclub.com. So just search Cryptocurry Club. You'll hopefully find out. Subscribe to the newsletter or publication. Anybody in the UK or nearby, hopefully you can come to our in-person events soon. Lockdown depending. The book, it's Crypto Wars, Fate, Deaths, Missing Billions, and Industry Disruption. I think I got that the right way around. So that's available from Amazon worldwide and from all good book retailers. It's out different dates of July, I think, depending on the country. So it's available on all of Amazon's. But please go to your local book retailer. They're better and they need support, and they've had a hard year after lockdown. So please go to your local book retailer. But otherwise, it is available on Amazon or online via Kogan page as well. I think we've got a discount code for anyone looking at Kogan page. It's Crypto Wars 20, I think.
Brilliant. All right, and we'll try and include a link to probably Amazon and some of the podcast platforms that actually do support show notes still and links. But hey, that's us for today. Look, thank you very much, Erica. All the best, and I hope the book does well.
Thank you so much for having me on. Have a good night.
All right, there you go. That was Erica Stanford. She does indeed have a new book out very soon in July. I think she said it's called Crypto Wars, Faked Deaths, Missing Billions, and Industry Disruption. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Crazy days in crypto. Obviously, besides all this, scam stuff, Wow, markets have been extremely volatile. So probably going to take a deeper look at the market sentiment and some of the new narratives that are forming. We have had a little bit of a recovery today, and some interesting narratives, as I say, that are starting to come out of this. So what do you think? Was that the bottom of the market yesterday? Are we going to recover from here? Look, it's too soon to say. But yeah, interested to dig into all this stuff probably tomorrow. So make sure you are subscribed to the Crypto Conversation podcast, and we'll see you tomorrow for more crypto adventures. All right. Thanks for listening, team. This was the Crypto Conversation for Brave